So if you're familiar, if you haven't noticed already, I'm kind of a Buffalo area guy, so I grew up with the Rochester, the New York, the New Jersey, all that scene or whatever. So going to shows all the time over in Buffalo, yada yada, Tonawanda, Cheektowaga, and these were one of the bands, Eternal Torment from Buffalo. Good old demo. Carl Pace, he's still hanging out doing a band called Sons of Ghidorah, the guitar player. So that's rad. And Danny is actually doing STEM. If you remember that band from the 90s, STEM, S-T-E-M. That was this, yeah. Bam. But yeah, wicked old school, just death metal. Buffalo death metal. Buffalo and New York and like Niagara Falls and all that definitely had a sound. Unlike it had, you could tell it was the New York, but they still had another twist on it too. Yeah, there was a lot of groove back in the day, which was unbelievable. Lots of good breakdowns, and that's where I kind of think slam started from. Just Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York, right? Eternal Bleeding, even Fetus, right? Throw those in there. But Grotesque Infection is one. Let's see over here. Even Buried Beneath from Rochester. They had like great, like perfectly timed. Hi Phil. I will say hi, definitely. So yeah, Buried Beneath was another one, and Grotesque, and just the scene, Disgorged from Rochester, that's another one. Just had a groove, man. Just had a groove. So it's kind of cool. Speaking of Buffalo, where I got a lot of my influence from Buffalo. I mean, that's what I wanted to see. It's what I loved. It's great. So we had our friend Lori, which I'm gonna sit down and talk with soon, because she's living in Toronto, but she grew up in the Buffalo. Hey, Craig. CDN Records. CDN Records. So she had a zine, Eruptions from Below, and then she also just taped shows also. So Eruptions from Below, it's a great zine. Just they're all her pictures too, man. It was great. Like she was there. Obscurity, here's another Buffalo band. We're gonna talk about those guys in the future. See, it's got it all. Look at that. I see. We're talking to Lee last night. There he is in there. The old Lee Harrison. There's George, Mr. George Colts Grinder. So she had a zine, and she had a bunch of issues and stuff, and I mean they were just because everybody hung out, right? That was the thing. Everybody just chilled and just chilled and hung out, man. That was what you did because you wanted to go to shows, and so you know, Pungent, Impetigo, Disgorge, like I was just talking about, from Rochester, not California's Disgorgia. This is Disgorged. So anyways, killer. Grotesque Infection, see? They're close to my heart. I will mention Grotesque Infection a lot. There's Obscurity, there's the ad for the demo. That was coming out. And it's an unbelievable demo. It's over there somewhere. Thanks to Dan, our the original bass player in my old death metal band. He had some shit. He kept on some shit too, so that's cool. But anyways, I just like looking through those things. They're fun. So she had a video series where she just recorded some bands and stuff, right? Because I mean, you bring a VHS camcorder, shoot away. So she ended up getting. Oh yeah, it's all backwards. So Inner Sanctum, Obscurity, Ritual Torment, Infestation, Grotesque Infection, Demonacy, Human Remains, Pungent Stench, Incantation, Brutal Truth, Carnal Dissection. So there's going to be some treats in the documentary. I can guarantee you. There's going to be some tasty treats. It's like I said, man, that's where I grew up, so that's where we just hung out, right? Want to give another shout out. Good old Pennsylvania death metal percussor. Good old Jack Carmichael is the man. Seriously, like, this doesn't sound like anything. That's what I keep trying to tell people. It has an old school vibe, but a vibe that nobody's touching. It's unbelievable, literally, man. I think I pretty much have all the releases. And thanks to Jack, because Jack's the man, and he loves to support the scene and the underground, because that's what we do. We help each other out, promote. What's up? Percussor, Percussor. So, Pennsylvania band, man. Honestly, you gotta check these guys out. Percussor. Look at my nipples. Percussor. Just throwing it out there, man. Good dudes. And they're playing around, man. They're and always releasing shit, which is the good thing. Like, and every album is not boring. Remnants of Horror album that came out, I believe it's on Lost Disciple. Unfortunately, the drums weren't too listenable on that. They ended up re-recording it over at Mike Lucifer's studio from Primeval. Oh shit! I'm sorry about your studio. I forget. But he ended up redoing the drums and everything, and now it's the perfect percussor album. It's unbelievable. Yeah, man, check these guys out. All right, I gotta call somebody too. Uh-oh. Who's doing it? There it is. Oh, and he's got an aseptic shirt on. Where are we here?
Clean one in the closet.
There you go. That's a great demo, though.
It really is. They have a whole record. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, it just came out too, right?
Yeah, like last couple months. I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Do I need to change anything? I don't know.
No, we're live. I think everybody else thinks you look good. We can stare at your crotch. It's a perfect angle.
That's where the money is. I'm not leaving the spoons. You want to just put an aspirin in between there and just sit like,
Cross your legs.
Yeah.
So we got Mr. Matt Harvey here. I'm talking on here. You're on the TV, and we're live streaming over there or whatever. So seems to be working out.
We're still learning. I'll be into that.
How you doing tonight?
I'm all right. I'm doing good. I'm just sitting here in our studio here in San Luis Obispo, California. Just actually still sort of working intermittent hours. So I got done with work, came over here, been just kind of goofing around a little bit, and yeah, now I'm chatting with you.
Right on. Thank you for tuning in.
Fuck yeah, man. Are you guys all on lockdown, quarantine status up there? Or?
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
That it's going over. Not it. We are, but we aren't yet. But we are.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Probably like, I mean, we can go to the store, no problem, and a bunch of restaurants are doing like takeout and delivery only.
Yeah, it's pretty far and few between with that now too. Yeah, we've gotten to the point where it's the essentials, right? Like the essentials, which is beer, weed, and dollar store.
Right. Yeah, you can still buy weed here because it's a pharmacy. So.
Totally. So.
Beer at the gas station, so it's easy.
Right. And gas is down like crazy. We usually hover at around $1.05 to 30 cents a liter. Yeah, for a liter. So now we're literally down to 67 cents a liter.
That sounds very cheap. I don't have a good grasp of volume measurements, but yeah. Yeah, it's a weird thing. The city's like a fucking ghost town, and gas is cheap, and yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but hey, we're still here talking about death metal ostensibly, so it's good.
Right? We're still connecting somehow. They can't keep us apart.
Exactly.
Hey, you're a big punk rock guy, eh?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I guess for like a metal guy, I probably am, but I wouldn't like, you know. I don't want to pose.
Right.
But I can't see what you got there.
What do we got?
Oh, yeah. Circle jerks, and what's the other thing?
DOA?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, bunch of fucking goofs. Bunch of fucking goofs demo.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but actually... What's that?
DOA's from Vancouver, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember hearing Bullet Catcher when I was like in 6th grade, like one of the skater kids in my elementary school playing Groovy, and I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? I didn't even know, you know. The only rock I knew was like, I don't know, whatever was on the radio and like, you know, what my parents listened to.
Of course.
Totally confused, but I always remember that song. And I listen to it every once in a while, and I'm like, this song, I mean, it's good. It's a good track, but I'm like, this is, you know, it's not that hard. But, you know, I was 10. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, but that's like nothing else, man. Because like probably the heaviest I was used to was, I mean, I heard some Iron Maiden tunes, heard some Priest, and some Ozzy, right? Black Sabbath. So that's the heaviest that I was at. And then as soon as you hear that like first punk rock song or whatever, literally it's it's a whole new realm of tunes. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you know, I think the thing for me was because I was at work by myself because we're limiting how many people can be there because of the virus and everything. And so whenever there's nobody really around, that's my day to just listen to like stuff I've been saving up, and I don't know what it's like. Because my coworkers are very tolerant, but they don't usually want to hear like 4 hours of like extreme death metal. You know? Like 1 hour a week is good for them.
Right.
And so I was just looking at a bunch of different demos and different things that I kind of saved, and I realized that like my common denominator beyond like the gross vocals or the heaviness or anything, it's always been like I like fast music, and that's why I think I listen to a lot more punk than like your average metal guy.
Totally. Oh yeah.
Because I mean, I'm just into stuff that's up tempo and fast, and I was listening to a bunch of stuff today, and I was like, this is cool, like, you know, But it wasn't until I heard the Triage record.
I've seen you posting that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we killed Client Band, and I was like, yeah, now that's my jam, because this shit's fucking fast. Because a lot of the newer death metal, it's actually a lot like, I was thinking about it, it's a lot like it was kind of in the like 92, 93 era. A lot of the new death metal, I'm like, this is cool, but it's just kind of slow, man. Like, what's up, dude? Speed it up.
Yeah.
That's obviously I have my own band to play as fast as I want.
Of course.
But that's kind of my feeling when I hear a lot of this stuff now.
Yeah. No, it's true though. I mean, with this old school revival, right? Everyone's going back to just the primitive ways and just caveman riffs and all that kind of jazz. But losing the extreme of the fast side of it all, right? I mean, some people keep the blast beats in it, but there's way less blast beats than there are just groove hammers, right?
Right. I was listening to that Molder. I don't know if it's a record or it's a demo. I was on
Yeah.
Bandcamp. Really, really great riffs, amazing vocals. But I just felt like I was waiting. I'm like, so where's like the really fast part or the really fast song? But it has that sort of like asphyx, like mid-tempo kind of cyanide-y thing or whatever. Like I said, cool demo. But I was just like, all right, so where's like the fast part, man?
Yeah, because you, like, I mean, back in the day, you guys did where is it? Can we see that? Where is it?
Oh, the Nyctophobic split.
Yeah, you guys did a split with, like, you know, a grindcore band out of, I think they're out of Czech, I believe.
Nyctophobic was German.
German, that's right. So this was a split advance that they were doing with EXHUMED at the time.
Oh wow, I've never even seen that. That's crazy.
Oh, cool.
Huh. Yeah, Nyctophobic was good. We did our first tour was with us and Hemdale and Nyctophobic, and that was in like '97. We went to Europe for like 10 days in December, and it was a real eye opener. Because at the time it was just me and Ross and our original drummer Cole, and we never played a show outside of California, let alone outside of the country. I mean, I'd been to like Tijuana maybe, and you know, so it was like stepping into a whole different universe, and it was freezing cold, and it was snowing, and it was just it was a real baptism by fire in a lot of ways. We kind of just got thrown into the deep end of the pool, like, all right, because the guy that was supposed to drive our van got a DUI, so Ross ended up driving the van, and we're like, well, we can't read the street signs, and we have this map, but it's snowing, and we've never driven in snow. So it was an experience. We really bonded with them and with Hemdale, and hence that's why we did the split with them after we got home.
In the Name of Gore, I got that somewhere too. That's a great split, man. That's like one of the iconic EXHUMED releases that I find a lot of the cult people talk about. But Hemdale on that also, like it's pretty much you both have an album.
Yeah, that's the way we looked at it. And the Hemdale side is great. I thought.
Oh, it's sick.
I thought the demo was slightly better, but the side of the split is really, really good. And you can kind of hear in a lot of ways. I think they really had their shit together a lot more than us in some ways.
Mm-mm.
We had more like riffing and like a little bit of hints towards comprehending what a melody was, but they had like the timing and the better production and you know, much tighter execution. And they were really good on that tour too as a three-piece. Like they were kicking our ass every night. Yeah, that was that split kind of is like what opened the whole door to our career, I guess.
Right. Well, because you only pretty much just put out demos up until then and like compilation tracks and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Basically, you know, it was kind of tough because when we were starting out, like in the early 90s, I guess we played our first show January 92? Or something. Yeah, I think that sounds right. No, we played the first show October 91. We put our first demo January 92.
And it's that demo, right?
That's the one, yes. Been colorized now for the modern release.
Yeah,
it's zero.
Dissecting the caseated omentum. That's that was the first demo I heard. Yep.
We wanted the crowd to be able to chant that,
It just rolls off the tongue.
What's that?
It just rolls off the tongue.
Oh yeah, it's poetic. We were really young. I mean, I was 16 when both of those events occurred, and I think by the time we started kind of like getting a grasp on how to play our instruments a little bit better, and maybe have an idea of like, oh, being in a band isn't just about like, writing a cool riff and then like getting into a show for free. Like, we should do something with this. But by then I was like 94, and kind of trying to get signed as like a death metal band for the Bay Area in 1994 was a real uphill battle.
Yeah.
So Craig from Hemdale had his own label, and so that's how the split came about. I think we recorded that in 95, and it came out in 96. And basically, he was doing really well with his label. He had signed Nile, he had signed Scattered Remnants, he signed us, and then sort of a coup, when Incantation left Relapse for one of the many times that had happened, he ended up signing Incantation. And his mail order was doing great and all this shit, and so he was kind of like leading the charge in the U.S. underground scene at the time. And it ended up that Relapse was they were like the biggest mail order at the time. That was like the bulk of their business, was running a gigantic fucking distro. And because Craig's label Visceral was kind of like becoming a threat, they actually bought his entire label. And that's how we got signed. Because it was like, well, cool, here's my distro, here's all my stock, here's my roster if you so desire. And luckily there was a guy that worked at Relapse named Tom Haley, who was roommates with Matt Jacobson, the owner of the label. And he was a fan of the band. I met him in 97 at the Milwaukee Metal Fest at the Relapse merch table. And so he was like, yeah, we should continue with these guys. We should like offer them a real contract and like, and because they kind of had the option to either keep us or release us or whatever. And so because of Tom, really, we ended up getting a deal with Relapse, and now, 20-something years later, here we are.
Oh, totally. So you went right from the split to the album?
Yeah, but I mean, it took a really long time. I mean...
Yeah, there was a gap, right? It's like 98, I think. When did Gore Metal come out? 98? Yeah.
Because we recorded the split in 95, and then various things happened with the label, and there was various delays with Hemdale's side, and so it didn't come out until like almost a year later, which when you're, how old was I? That makes us 20, yeah, I was 20. That was like a really, really long time. And, it was such a long wait that our original guitar player, Daryl, he just got impatient, he got fed up with it, because we kept hearing, oh, it's going to come out at X time, it's going to come out at X time. Anyway, so he ended up kind of like losing focus in the band, and we had this record release show, and the record wasn't released yet, and then the show got broken up by the cops, and then he's like, okay, cool, he just stopped showing up. So we kicked him out. So it was very encouraging. And then finally the record came out in 96, and then we did the tour in 97, and then we did the album in 98. But it was like, it really felt like just an interminable grind to get to that point, because by 98 we've been, like I said, we played our first show in 91, so 7 years later we're finally like recording an album.
Right, yeah, because the whole time you've just been pressing your own shit the whole time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just, so it was really like, I mean, ironically, we recorded the album and we were very amateurish, even though we've been a band for 7 years, because we've never done it before. And we had these dumbass ideas about how to do it and what to do. And between that and the engineer doing a shit job, like it all came out totally discombobulated and not what we thought at all. Which I know is why people like the record, but to me,
I do.
It sounds bad. should have done better, you know.
So then you look past gore metal and then go to Slaughter Cult.
Yeah, that one I think we did a lot better job on. It was a lot more focused, and I think when it was Cole and Ross and myself in the band, it was like 3 cheats and no Indians. So when we did that one, it was just Cole and I, and so we kind of had the same ideas. We knew Mieszko from doing shows with Nauseam in '99, and he was like, "Yeah, I heard your record," and I was like, wasn't really sure if you guys were cool or you sucked. And I saw you out, and I actually really like you guys. I was like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "Come to my studio, and we'll do a good sounding album for you." Like, thank God. So we ended up bringing him out to California and recorded that one, and that, I think, at least in terms of accomplishing what we came out to do, we actually did that. Whereas Blue Metal, we were trying to do one thing and we ended up with something else. Slaughter Cult was like, oh, hey, cool, we had a goal and then completed it.
You actually did it, because that's a heavy tone. Like, what were you playing at the time to get that?
I think Mike Beams, our old guitar player, and we always had the same rig throughout the first 3 albums. I used the 5150, and he had the old, state-of-the-art 1989 amp, which was like the And Justice for All rig. It's a gigantic, 100-watt Mesa Boogie 50 whatever. So Mesa Boogie 5050 power amp that can power like 16 cabinets and it's 100 watts with an 88 MP1 preamp. And that was like I said, that was the And Justice for All tone. And in 1989, that was the shit. Like, that was the hot amp. So he blew all of his high school job money on that amp, and he just kept it forever. And I had the same 5150 forever too. So not to knock on Mike, but yeah, we just combined all those, and that's what we got. That's how we got the tones for all 3 of the albums. I think the difference with Slaughter Cult was that we just turned the bass up really loud, and that was sort of that's what adds, because people were like, oh, you guys use the HM2. It's like, no, we didn't. That's the bass distortion.
Yes.
Which, if I remember correctly, was just that orange Boss distortion pedal. And we were recording in the East Bay with the guys from Vile. We were recording at their studio, and Juan, their vocalist, was there just to kind of help me get the lay of the land. Like, this is where the compressor is, this is where this is. And he's like, you can't record the bass like that. That sounds like, no. And Mieszko was like, dude, I'm producing the album. And he's like, no, you can't do it. Like, let me dial it in. And finally Mieszko gets up and he's like, it's fucking grindcore. That's what the bass is supposed to sound like. You need to get the fuck out of here. But he was right. I mean, that's how it's supposed to sound. But it's actually, the bass I played was Jack Gibson's from Exodus. He had done a session there and left his bass there or whatever. And they're like, oh, we have this bass if you want to use it. I was like, cool. I'm like, where did this bass come from? It's really nice. That was Jack from Exodus. Oh, cool.
Oh, neat. So then you ended up getting that bass player that liked to vomit for a while.
Yeah, Bud Burke. Yeah, he was already playing with us. He was just, Bud has always been, it's not even that he's flaky, he just doesn't care anymore.
Hey, totally. I can understand that, right?
Yeah, he was going to school in Santa Barbara, which is about 4 hours south of San Jose, where we all used to live. And he moved, as students often do, in between, whenever you come back after summer and move into a new house. And he never gave us his new phone number. And so we try to call him and be like, hey, we're recording pretty soon. And he never called us back because we couldn't reach him. We just didn't know how to get a hold of him. And so I ended up playing bass on the record, and he toured with us for Gore Metal and Slaughter Cult and Anatomy of Destiny. He actually played on Anatomy of Destiny, and then he came back. He's always been a guitar player, like a really big guitar player. We just didn't need a guitar player at the time. So then when he came back, before Necrocracy, he came back as a guitar player. But he didn't vomit anymore because it's really bad food.
Yeah, just a. Oh, for sure. A lot of people, just with Slaughter Cult, like the guitars and everything on, like, and the bass, like you said, like that's the crunchiest album of yours, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds. It's one of those records that I think, like, from a strictly, like like a correct way to produce a record, that's not. It doesn't sound good, but it sounds bad in the correct way, and so we all want it. In that it's like everything is in the red, and it sounds like the record's trying to like get out of the speakers to like, you know, pee on you or something. It's like really like kind of oppressively loud, which was what we were going for.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I think it sounds great. Like I said, sonically, if you took it to like, you know, a recording institute, they would be like, no, do not do this. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, totally. Sounds like someone's breaking into a car over there.
Yeah, I don't know. Our studio, we got like a boat and auto upholstery shop on this side, and then the guy here has a workshop where he just works on cars like in his spare time. So he's been here a lot because I'm sure he's not working. So
That's fair.
It's not for viewers over there. This is just the regular. This is the controller.
So with the new album that just came out, again, Relapse Records, Horror.
Still.
Yep, still. You went balls out fast, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to me was that, you know, with Necrocracy and Death Revenge, they're both, you know, for us, for what we do, they're pretty sophisticated. Necrocracy had a lot of melody and like dual guitar work and stuff, which I'm a big Thin Lizzy fan, a big Maiden fan, so like that's kind of my shit. But it was a little bit different for us. And Death Revenge has like a cinematic thing with these orchestral interludes that are, you know, very bombastic. It's a bit. I was worried that people were going to think it was a little pretentious or whatever. So this is kind of just like a withdrawal from that because, you know, everything, you know, it's like food. Even if you love hamburgers, if you eat hamburgers for 3 days in a row, you're like, fuck, I want some pizza or whatever. And so I thought, how can we pull back from what we've been doing as far away as possible without like becoming a different band? You know, because I think if we would have continued like what we were doing with Death Revenge, where there's a lot of these like sort of dark melodies and these big cinematic parts or whatever, it's like then we're venturing off like so far from what we originally started as that I wouldn't feel comfortable doing. Unless, of course, we did the record and sold truckloads and all of a sudden we were playing in front of like 1,000 people every night, then I'd be like, I guess this is what people want, so maybe we should do it. But, you know, Dune has always been kind of steady. We're just an underground band that, you know. So we try to do something different every record for ourselves and for the audience because we've been doing this a really long time and we want to keep it interesting. So I think that Horror was a fun way to kind of to do that and to play, you know, I was saying it's the last two albums is more like what's interesting to me as a guitar player and as a musician, and then Horror maybe is what's more interesting to me as a fan. Like, if I'm gonna, you know, have a few beers and like pick out a record, it's probably gonna be Horrified's gonna be the first one I'm gonna go for. So it's like, cool, how do we channel that but still do it, you know, like you said.
And just call it Horror instead of Horrified, right?
I was actually like trying to think why I called it album that for that specific reason. But it was a good title, and you know, I talked to the label and I talked to the guys, and they're like, no, that's the title. Because I told Relapse the title before we really had any material. I'm like, I don't know, it's gonna be called Horror. We're gonna record it X time. And then I was like, maybe we shouldn't call it that. They're like, no, you should absolutely call it that. I was like, okay, cool. Well, that's what we did.
Sweet. Yeah, and then you guys put that like VHS bundle together and everything like that. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. I thought the label like knocked it out of the park with the packaging. And you know, one of the things that we always wanted to do all the way back to the early mid-90s was, you know, we wanted to make it sort of more immersive. And, you know, there was a period in the mid-90s where we used to, like, get real blood and spit real blood on people, and we would start the show with, like, a mouthful of, like, we'd go to the bait store and get a bunch of worms, have a mouthful of worms, and then wait for the first little bit to hit, and then when the goes, just blah, and out that comes, and, you know, we had a chainsaw and all this shit, so we've always tried to make it sort of like a multimedia thing, you know, much like Maiden, you know, where you go to a Maiden show, and the band is inside the album cover of Power Slave. Like, fuck, they're inside a pyramid. And then a giant robot mummy comes out or whatever. So we're trying to kind of get that same kind of immersive experience, and the packaging of the record is part of that too. Totally. And that's what was so cool about the VHS box, because it's like, I was just thinking, you know, the title horror, I was thinking, like, when I was a kid and I walked into the video store, like, what did I look for? Like, if I saw where it said horror, I was like, that's the place to go. Like, cool, great, now I know, horror. Like, very simple. And so a lot of kids, obviously nowadays, have probably never been inside a fucking video rental store in their lives. So they know about it, like, where they saw the very end of it with, like, the blockbusters and shit. So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm got some phobies.
Totally.
I wanted, you know, the record itself to be kind of indicative of that whole experience. You know, we went to a video rental shop in Portland, and we did our photo shoot there and stuff. And so it's the whole thing is, you know, it's a concept from top to bottom, even though it's not a story.
Totally. Well, because you were a little more, like you said, you were a little darker, and you were a little more storytelling on the last two albums. Like you said, they're musical. They're, you know, you're playing what you kind of want to play at that time, right? And then horror goes right into just kind of back to blasting grind, how it was kind of in the beginnings, right?
I mean, sort of. I mean, you get a lot of people like, oh, it's like back to like Slaughter Cold and gore metal. I'm like, kind of. I mean, the moving style is a lot different. It's the same kind of pace and maybe the relentlessness, but it's, I mean, you know, to me, I'm like, oh, this is like totally a separate thing. But, you know, I mean, you make a record and it's out there. Whatever it is to people, that's what it is. It's something different to you, but it's whatever people make of it. As long as I didn't say it sucked, then I was totally cool with that. You know? That's like whatever it sounds like. You can be like, oh, it sounds like Megadeth, but I love it. It's like, great. It sounds nothing like Megadeth. Who cares?
And like I mentioned to you before, the sound on this is a little more raw than it was on the last two albums. And your guitar kind of had a little reverbness to it, like, because you love Metallica's Ride the Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, that's the greatest guitar sound that anybody has ever got. It's that, you know, it's the Merciful Fates borrowed JSTM 800 with James's pedal setup. I forget what it is now. And, you know, Fleming Rasmussen taking his time. I think it took like 2 or 3 days just to like get the right tone. And it, you know, and then you take those guitars and record every single note 4 times, and that's where the overwhelming power comes from. And that's even like on this record, that on Horror, which is a really busy, fast record, I still recorded 4 of all the rhythm guitars.
Ah, cool. Yeah.
I still would be cool, you know.
Right on, right on. Well, because you just kind of, like you said, you kind of wanted to just not start a new band, but just, okay, let's, what else we doing, right?
That's like, yeah. Start a new band. You know, for a month, I'm only working like 15 hours a week, so maybe I do.
So gruesome, unfortunately. Actually, let me just grab a beer. I gotta grab a beer.
Short pause for worthy cause, dude.
That's it. Are you drinking?
No. I actually decided to use this time off. I'm like, I should probably take a break. And, you know, really go on a little mini diet and go back to the gym and stuff, because I have actually extra time, you know, so.
Totally.
Trying to, you know.
Yeah, because I went out skateboarding the last couple of days myself, so I got to get back into the groove because I found myself starting to teeter off, and all of a sudden a pair of pants was like, oh shit, no, let's figure this out quickly.
Yeah, so I'm just down to like once a week is sort of where that's the basic regimen.
Sure.
But I think tomorrow night, it's either tomorrow or the next, my wife and I are supposed to Skype a couple of our friends. We're going to have like a long distance party.
Cool. Yeah. No, we got some friends of ours here about a half hour away. They want to do like a live streaming block party.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so Buddy's figured out how to cut from him to the main area, back to somebody, back to the main area, back to somebody, back to the main area. So we're going to see how that goes on Saturday.
I mean, it's going to be fun, even if it goes terrible. Like, even if it all fucks up and the feed works, like, it's going to be a hoot. You know?
Well, we got nothing else to do.
Right, absolutely.
So, Gruesome had to cancel the tour. You had a big European tour coming up, right?
Yeah, we were supposed to be in Europe with Grousome and Vitriol for a month, and just to make it extra shitty, after that, my wife and I had planned a vacation. We were going to Istanbul for like a week.
Oh.
We haven't taken like an actual vacation together in like 4 years, and so it was like, whew, all right, like lose a bunch of money, get your wife pissed off, and you're like, this is a great week. I mean, you know, obviously, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So like, she was like, fuck you. It's like, damn, this is so disappointing, you know?
Right.
We were really looking forward to the tour, and obviously, you know, like every band out there, it's very, it's a blow.
Oof. Just the entertainment industry, period. I mean, I'm a stagehand, so every concert's canceled, right? Yeah. So, and the same with touring bands, right? I mean, it just goes without saying. I mean, this is our job to kind of like, it's not our main job sometimes, so we do other stuff, but that helps fill in the gaps, and now all the gaps are gone, and so there's fuck all, right?
I'm sort of in a position now where it's like my day job is sort of like my fill-in job. Like, you know,
cool.
I probably work like maybe 6 months a year.
Nice.
So it sort of works, but I mean, it's you know, it's bad for everybody out there, and it sucks for the fans. But of course, it's way better to cancel because, like, my buddy Will, who plays Jones for Death Angel, he's really sick right now. You know, they were just on tour in Europe. He came home, and you know, he's in the hospital. He's in the ICU. So, I mean, I would much rather lose a couple grand and not have any more friends or myself, you know, endanger their health, or you know, or the kids either. You know, so it's one of those things. What can you do?
Yeah,
so
totally.
Hopefully we have a bunch of plans in place that have already been in place for the rest of the year, and everybody's kind of just holding and be like, well, you know, hopefully by mid-April, maybe we'll know if all these things are still going to be able to happen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, assuming that things play out the way that the experts say they're supposed to, then hopefully we'll be back on the road soon. And this will be a blip, and you know, everyone will be able to get on with their lives. But who knows? Yeah,
totally. So in the time being, you're obviously just you're mad riffing right now, correct?
You know, it's funny because I don't get a lot of chance to just like practice. You know, like between work and family, and then you know everything else, it's like I really just like play for fun. So like I'm getting a little bit of time to actually like play guitar for just a laugh, which is like really nice. Just to sit there and be like, hey, I have 2 hours to sit and just play guitar uninterrupted. Like,
yeah,
fuck, this hasn't happened in a long time. And I'm not just rehearsing for a show or a recording or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. But I am still quite busy. I'm just wrapping up film soundtrack. Basically just going back and forth with my buddy Alejandro, who also plays the main founder, and he's sort of helping me with the engineering side. And so we're closing in on the final mix. It's like, oh damn, you got it all. I think I gave that to you when we were in
Rochester. Right? Yeah. Well, I bought it.
And we also finished recording a new Pounder EP that we're sort of shopping around to different labels to see what we want to do with it. And then there is going to be some news with EXHUMED and also with GRUESOME, but that's not to be announced yet. So, I mean, it's going to be, it was planned to be an insanely busy year, but it's still going to be a fairly busy year, I think.
Good.
We can actually, get out and play some fucking shows, But there's still, a lot of music happening, and, there's always projects to move on.
Right, but you're mentioning that you're a big horror fan, obviously. So on the Death Revenge album, you did a bunch of soundtrack stuff on there, which interluded into your songs and everything like that. So you kind of started, digging the fact that, making soundtracks. So what's this horror movie that you're working on?
The movie is called The Crumbs. It's kind of it's pretty it's kind of slow. It's not like a big slasher like Gorefest, unfortunately. It's a little bit slower, more dramatic, like small cast kind of thing. So it's a real small orchestra that I'm working with. It's not like fucking, big horns and shit. It's just real pared down piano, cello, violin.
That's cool, though. That's cool that you're actually doing it organic, though, instead of just Pro Tools and GarageBand and all that, right?
No. I'm programming it all. I'm just writing it. But that's the virtual instruments that we're using. We don't have the budget to go and get players.
Okay. I'm disappointed now.
That would be what I would love more than anything. Just to stand there like fucking John Williams, be okay, louder. Oh, quiet. That'd be quite fun.
No, but honestly though, I had the same encounter. I ended up going to film some girl at one of the local universities, and she was doing a vocal audition for some sort of running play or whatever. So I literally went down and shot her singing a couple songs with the piano coach or their vocal coach, and literally it was orchestral to the point where I was obviously I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, wow, I could totally use this girl, which I did in that little full moon trailer thing that I used some of your music in too, the Shrieker, Return of the Shrieker, Call of the Shrieker, and the vocal teacher was like, well, you can ask anybody that goes to the university that plays, and they will all greatly donate music to any projects that they're looking for. So if you're interested in that, there's literally a university, if there's a music department, you can get anything out of there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, there is a college here in town, and that'd be an interesting thought. That'd be fun. I mean, it's so efficient though to be able to just sit there, write. Okay, blah.
Yeah, but
you're like, okay, now what about this one? Nope, that one. Okay, cool. Turn it up, turn it down. It's like the level of control that you have is it's really nice to work with, but it would be. I feel I'm not trained. I'm not a trained musician.
No.
So I think it would be a little intimidating, which means I should probably do it, to work with an actual cellist and be like, I don't know how to fucking cello.
Well, you just show them the riffs, right? And then obviously they're gonna be like, okay, well, this is how we would play that. And then obviously it's just gonna spiral into okay, well, that's even better than what I came up with. So what else you got?
Right, and that's the chemistry thing. It's one of the things that I think. It's one of the things that I think is missing in a lot of music, including the music that I make, is because everybody, metal and otherwise, but, nowadays everything is so, most bands half of them don't live in the same city or the same state or anything, and so everyone's sort of collaborating remotely, and then they get together, they study the tunes, get together, work it out, go. And it's very efficient and it's very cost effective, and all that stuff. It's great, but there's really something to be said for the chemistry of just getting in a room 4 nights a week and playing and playing and playing. And we were actually doing a record here for, do you know Cartilage from the Bay Area?
Yep, totally.
We did that record, Dialect of the Dead. So we did their new record, which is probably finished by now, but we did it here at our studio. And I was just amazed. I was like, God damn, dude, you guys record fucking fast. And they're like, well, yeah, we practice, 3 days a week. We've been playing these songs for like 6 months. And I was like, I remember that. That was cool, man.
Right.
Like, we haven't done that in like 10 years. Fuck.
And how old are these guys?
They're all like early mid-20s.
Okay, right. So yeah, when you were younger, you had that drive, right? Obviously, to that degree, and you just but you were with locals all the time, right?
Right. I don't know that it's drive because I'm writing like 3 albums worth of material a year. I feel like I have plenty of drive, but it's more a matter of like time management, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
Because like when we were like 19, I worked at a comic book store. Our drummer worked at a gas station. Ross worked at a record store or whatever. And then we would get off work by 9, and then we would just go to the jam room until 11 every night because we were fucking losers. We didn't have girlfriends or whatever. It was just like, all right, cool, let's go do it again tomorrow. All right, it was what we did,
Yep.
Whereas nowadays it's just the amount of time demands. The other thing is, like the managing the band or whatever also takes up a lot of time.
Oh, it's
like,
huge.
A whole Australian tour that just got canceled, of course. And I spent hours like rounding up fucking scans of everybody's documents and getting signatures and sending this form across to this person, and it's like I'm doing that, then I have a full-time job, and then I'm married, and then it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude, I just don't have 4 nights a week to sit and jam for 3 hours. Like,
yeah.
I wish I did.
Yep.
But it's the time that I would spend practicing, I'm worried about, because we also have a screen printing shop in the other room here. We've got the live room where we record and rehearse, and the screen printing shop. So we print all our own shirts, and we have our own screens, and we have ink, and we have this and that. And so sort of making sure that we have all the right stuff, like, that becomes more time consuming than just playing the fucking music.
Yeah, of course. I feel that way just from what I do. I couldn't imagine being in like 3 different bands and then having to manage those bands separately, and then, like you said, merch, marketing on top. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, like we did the Fragments of Psyche EP that GRUESOME did. We did that on cassette for the European tour, which then got canceled. So then I had to market the cassette here and then send that and go to the post office. And I find that a lot of times I'll be like, cool, I'm gonna, I tell my wife, like, I'm just gonna go to the studio and work. I'll be home by 9. So I get off work, by the time I get here, it's like 6. And then I turn around, I'm like, now I can play guitar. And I'm like, it's 8:45. Like, cool. That was like, I just did all this other shit instead. So
yep.
It's a weird thing, and it's all great stuff that we work on here, and it's all helping the band. So I don't want to sound like I'm complaining.
No, not at all. It's just more work than what people usually expect. They expect to do, right?
Yeah. It's very. I didn't really understand when I was a kid. I was like, yeah, DIY. Now I'm like, oh, DIY means like doing all this like really boring fucking
yourself. You're do-it-yourself, right?
Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, cool. Can you give me the tracking number on those shirts so I know when to expect them? And like that, it's like, oh my god, this is not rock and roll.
Yeah, totally. I'm not just writing to ads that I got in the mail and getting another demo for $3 with postage paid.
Yes. That is how I'm going to be spending my time. But, it's, everything's a trade-off. So I'm very grateful for where we are and the fact that we are able to tour, make some money and sustain ourselves, and the studio and everything else is great. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it's like everything, you get what you wanted and you're like, huh, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, no, totally. So are you? So are you working on? Like you said, you're trying to promote the Pounder record. Are you writing new stuff for Gruesome at all?
We that's kind of like what I'm hoping is going to start happening maybe like next week. Um, it's really weird because as we're sort of going through the Death catalog, the next record that we've been planning for like a year is based on Human. And as you know, Sean Reiner just passed away. Sean was a buddy of mine, not like a close friend, but definitely a pal. But our drummer Gus was really close friends with him, and he was his drum teacher. So it was kind of weird because like Sean was his hero, and then they became like bros, and so it hit him like super hard. And he was already feeling like kind of uncomfortable about doing the record because here he is paying tribute to a guy that he's close friends with, but really looks up to, and is his teacher, and so he felt kind of awkward. And now that Sean's no longer with us, I think the pressure level for him has gone up a lot, and the pressure level for all of us has gone up considerably. Robin, our bass player, also knew Sean for years and years before that. And so we were actually going to have him be involved with the production of the record. We wanted him to come down to the sessions and kind of like, make sure that we were getting the vibe right and stuff. And so it's kind of been a bit of a blow to the whole process. But we do have some songs written, and we need to build on that. And hopefully before the end of the year, maybe we can get in the studio and get things rolling again. So, but it's become a little bit more intimidating.
For sure. Do you write?
Right.
Right. Do you write most of the riffs, or how does it go with Gruesome?
I write most of the stuff. Dan and Gus, actually Gus is a pretty good guitar player, as well as being a great drummer. Dan and Gus both contribute riffs here and there, and then I sort of work them into the songs. I think as time has gone on, Dan has started contributing more riffs because Human is his favorite Death album, whereas I'm like a Scream Bloody Gore guy, so I think he has more ideas that are going to be relevant to this one going forward. So it's definitely a team effort. I'll demo the song, send it back to the guys in Florida, then they'll fix what I fucked up, and then send it back to me, and then I'll record my vocals and stuff, and we'll get a picture of what the whole thing will sound like. So it's it's a band,
Yeah. So you've been doing, let's go back to the horror. You've been doing these scores and stuff. Is there anything else going on beyond that? Are you trying to do anything else or whatever?
I have, I've been talking to Relapse about doing I'm not sure if it's going to be a solo record or what, but it's basically like a sort of like a sci-fi synth kind of score type record. There's 2 tracks that are unfinished because I'm waiting for vocals on those. And it's sort of like spacey, trippy, but very thematic. Kind of like there's still like a John Carpenter-ish thing about it, but it's much more
Matt Harvey.
Well, I mean, it's not just it's not like a horror thing. It's got like a very sort of ethereal sci-fi vibe.
Cool.
I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just grow and we just want to do different stuff, right? I mean, I love the whole soundtrack vibe to it all. I wish I had a setup to actually play that kind of stuff because I mean, just the ideas I have in my head for music and theories and stuff like that. But to actually be able to do it and that's rad, man. That's fucking awesome. I wish I could score more movies. Personally,
I wish I could too. This is my first full-length movie. I did a short called Hellon a couple years ago. That was really fun, but I've learned so much since then. I'm dying to get more projects like this. So
sweet, Matt Harvey.
Somebody on a horror movie that's watching this, just hit me up.
That's how it works. He's the guy. He's looking for some projects. Do some zings in there. Good times. So what kind of movies have you been watching lately? You see any good new gore ones, old ones, whatever?
I'm trying to think. The last movie, I haven't really watched that much lately. I think the last thing I watched is that fucking Tiger King documentary that everyone's watching on Netflix.
Yeah, I see. What's going on with that? What is that?
It's totally insane. Like, it's just about these people that run these private zoos, and they're all fucking insane. And their lives are all bizarre. In the first episode, you're like, wow, this is really fucked up. And I'm only halfway through, and I was like, this is really escalating to a point of just utter insane. And it's fascinating. And it's very American. There's like, one of the dudes, the main guy, Exotic Joe, he lives in Oklahoma, he's gay, he makes DVDs full of country music about tigers, and has a tiger farm of like 180 tigers in the middle of rural Oklahoma, and he walks around strapped all the time, and he's the most relatable person so far. So that, I don't want to spoil it for people, but I would say watch it. It's fucking crazy.
Wow, that's intriguing, actually.
I was like, what the fuck is this about? And I saw the guy's picture, and I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, oh, let's give it a shot. And we watched the first episode, and my wife and I was like, we're watching this whole fucking thing. It's all about the 3 hours. I just got to know what happens. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to finish it.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long if you have to go.
Yeah, I probably should get running actually, because my phone is about to die, and it's about that time.
Okay, well then let's cut it out, right? Cut it out. Well, thank you. Yeah, cut it out. Because we're from Canadalandia, right?
That's right. I love Canada. I wish they let me in.
We want you back, man. It's killing us too.
What's that?
It's killing us too that you haven't been back.
Yeah, I think in 2 years I can apply to get it permanently expunged up there, which is a separate process from getting it expunged down here. I just have DUI, in case you're wondering. So hopefully, we'll see. Because our drummer Mike, he also has a DUI, which he now has expunged, and he's clear to go back into Canada. So
we're waiting for you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, hurry up.
There's always a fucking blast shooting shit with you, man.
Yeah, dude. Every time, man. I fucking love it. Dude, we need to do this more often. This is actually quite fun.
I was going to say, yeah. If we're still on lockdown next month, we're just do it again.
Let's do it again. Let's talk about more horror movies.
Awesome, man.
All right, cool, bro.
R.I.P. Gordon, by the way, before I go, I want to say that. It's fucking horrible.
What's that? Sorry?
I said R.I.P. Stuart Gordon before I go.
Oh, yes. That was another thing, too, we're bringing up. Mr. Stuart Gordon was the director of Reanimator and Robot Jocks and Castle Freak.
No, Castle Freak was Fulci, wasn't it?
No, Castle Freak was Stuart Gordon. He was a part of A Full Moon.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm learning, so that's good.
Boom, boom. Yeah, and he unfortunately just passed away like yesterday or something like that.
Yeah, I saw this movie. It was a real bummer. Yeah, Reanimator is one of my absolute just top. Not just horror movies, but movies. It's great.
It literally is. Like the pace, the gore, everything is like perfect timing on that fucking movie.
The breasts, it's got it all.
Even part 2 and 3 I liked.
I like them. I do enjoy them, but not,
But it's not number 1. Totally. All right, Matt. Well, then let's tune in again, and thank you very much for hanging out.
Absolutely, man. Cheers. Thanks, bud.
Cool, bro. Take it easy.
You too, man. Later.
Ciao. Well, that was cool. Uh-oh. What's that? We'll leave that there. It's a good old loop on there. Hey, thanks for tuning in, eh? That was Matt Harvey of EXHUMED, Gruesome, Pounder, doing some horror stuff on the side too. Let's see here. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to, actually, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Mark Riddick there, artist extraordinaire. He actually did the logo and the artwork for our t-shirts. So we just want to thank Mr. Mark Riddick. And dude, he's an old school guy too. He's got a great book actually with all his artwork lately. Where is it here? You need to check this out, people. Just so happen to be hanging out right here. Morbid Visions. That's his book. Mark Riddick. He's been hanging out for quite a while too, man. He's an old schooler. I remember the fanzine ads and just getting the ads in the mail of him, and there's this one picture here. I remember seeing it on a couple fanzines. Yeah, Mark Riddick, man. Guys, there, that's the one. It's like him and his brother, artists, doing shit. I remember seeing that picture back in the early 90s, too. Oh, see, that's another question, see? So we can bring up questions for other stuff. So we could talk about Repulsion, which Craig Newman, hey man, he was in Repulsion for a bit, and then he also did Expulsion, which was, I think, Scott Carroll from Repulsion. Yes. So there's way more to talk about with that. But this is all Mark Riddick's artwork. Guys, it's pretty rad. I don't know if you like books and picture books. Like this coffee table book, it's just got it all. Give shout outs to Mark Riddick. Pen. See? Pen and ink. That's what you do. You gotta start it with that, right? But seriously, there's a lot of shit in here. Logos. Hold on a sec here. Did I just see something? Bastard Son. They're on CDN Records also. Local boys. Oh, man. Nike. Yeah. Nike. But yeah. There's a lot of cool shit in here. Borders. Just his artwork. He's worked with a lot of freaking bands. There's a lot of cool shit in here. So make sure to check out Mark Riddick. So, I don't know what's going on. What's the name of the book? Morbid Visions. I know it's backwards. The Art of Mark Riddick. Morbid Visions. Sweet. Good times. Yeah, I also got a package in the mail too. I haven't opened this yet. Because literally with all this time off, I've just been filling it with stuff to do. Because, I mean, for one thing, we're having fun here doing this. No problem, Nick. Nick Sagias. We're coming up to see you pretty soon, actually. Mr. Nick Sagias. Sagias, I believe, is how it's pronounced. He lives in Toronto. Actually, hold on a sec here. Just need some more of that. I'm all about Polish beer. This and Tyskie and all that kind of stuff too. Unbelievable. This has been my favorite beer. When I went to Poland a few years ago, we had some Tyskies. And ever since then, I just want to drink European beers. They're the best beers. Good lagers. Good, nice, just regular beer. They're just a beer. I'm not a hop guy or anything like that. So what was I talking about? Sagias. Nick is from Toronto, and Nick is the man behind the thrash band Overthrow, if you remember them, which I would hope you would. So he had this thrash band Overthrow, right? It was like, you know, they're hanging out and touring with the local Canadian guys, so it was like Razor and Sacrifice at the time. So he had Overthrow, and fucking awesome band, man. So after that Overthrow, he ended up starting Soulstorm, which I have. Hold on a sec here. Let me try to find her. Here it is here. I have one of the. They did a split with Mundane. It was another Toronto. I wouldn't say alternative metal, but they were alternative, I guess you would say. Literally with Mundane though. It was probably one of my favorite live shows that I've seen. They came to St. Catharines one time with who did they come with? Shit. It was Mal Havoc. I believe it was Mal Havoc. And it was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. It was the coolest show. I smoked a fucking fat joint. I was going out with this girl at the time, and she was like, yeah, I like music, but she, you know, obviously you don't really like music. So I ended up smoking a fucking fatty, because they were just buds of ours anyways, right? Because we were all kind of like tied in the underground, and our buddy Ed Ballog, he did a zine called Cheese Grinder, and he was managing them at the time when they were on Raw. Oh, was it? Shit. Hold on. Raw Energy. That's it. And I remember when this came out, I mean, obviously off death metal topic or whatever, but Ed, hell yeah, Ed Ballog, man, he's fucking legendary. So it was Raw Energy. But anyways, it was a fucking amazing show. And Soulstorm kicked ass. So Soulstorm ended up doing the death metal Godflesh kind of thing with their own Canadian twist, obviously. And it was brutal. And like I mentioned before, I found them originally. It wasn't through being just connected to Nick Sagias at the time. It was just the underground in general, and they ended up being on a compilation that was from Buffalo, and Soulstorm was on there. So that just was like, oh, that's Toronto. Sweet. That's cool. And then we ended up having Nick come on our radio show. Nick and Ryan of the band come down, and I think that was I don't know if that was the first time we met Nick, but it was either being at the Morbid Angel show with Paradise Lost and Creator at the Spectrum when we went with Darren Quinn and Shane Smoke. I was driving a Daytona Charger at the time, and it was me, myself, this guy Adam Olszewski, rest in peace. He had the best vocals I've ever seen in my life. But it was him and our old bass player from Mangled, my old death metal grindcore band. It was him, and then we picked up Shane and Darren, and it turned out that buddy Dan had to sit in the back of the Charger because it's like a hatchback or whatever. So he had to sit in the back, so he was looking out the window, and we were bottoming out because it was a Charger, so it was lower, right? And I'm not sure if that's where I met you, Nick, but then I ended up reconnecting with you again. Obviously being in contact here and there or whatever, and then it was nice to see you on the radio. So Soulstorm was kicking it, but now he has Tribe of Pazuzu. Yes, with Dan. Yeah, totally. Metal Dan was there too. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you were there. So you were. That was a fucking fun time, man. I remember going up to that show because Darren Quinn was living with Shane Smoke at the time. Darren Quinn, he did a zine called Genital Grinder at the time, and ended up connecting with him. Obviously, death metal, the grindcore, everything like that. It was all connected, anyways. So we ended up going to his house, and he was living with a few cult personalities. And we went to the jam room. I think it was the jam room, or was it just in the living room? I think it was in the living room. There was like maggots on the floor because they used to practice certain things and stuff like that. So there was, you know, we're all young and right? We're all trying shit at the time, right? So anyways, yeah, Nick Sagia, check out Tribe of Pazuzu. That's his latest band that Vic Records put out the last album. That's with Flo Monnier on drums and John McEntee from He Lived with Ricky Death. The radio show was a lot of That's right. Holy shit. See, he's bringing up the old times. That's crazy. That's good. Oh fuck, man. Man, I can't wait to get out of this freaking quarantine shit so we can all hang out again, man. But this is what we're doing anyways. So, I just opened a package. Where the fuck is it from? Imperial Savagery. Imperial Savagery. Check this out. I was putting a call... Oh, Horror, Pain, Gore, Death Records. That's Mike Giuliano. Good dude. He's put out a lot of shit. Odious Death Metal Sadism. So we got 2 EPs and whatever. Yeah, all from Horror, Pain, Gore, Death. And that's where Percussor had a lot of albums come out on too, was Horror, Pain. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to be looking into this. So Imperial Savagery. And check out Horror, Pain, Gore, Death. Horror, Pain, Gore, Death. Let's talk about that. I just want to thank Matt Harvey for tuning in and hanging out. And yeah, shout outs to Mark Riddick. Just laying the fucking groundwork there, eh, bud? Fucking A, eh, bud? And all the punk rockers out there. Because it's all about Nirvana, right? Just kidding. It's all about the fucking circle jerks. Where are we here? That's probably one of the greatest albums ever. Ever. This and... Minor Threat. Literally, these 2 albums blow everything away. Everything. I know a lot of you are going to say Dead Kennedys, and I get it. Dead Kennedys didn't hit me like this Circle Jerks album. I like this album. It has nothing like this album, but Minor Threat, Circle Jerks. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. I need to go piss and relax. So, rock and roll.